All right, the big gamble on Iran. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Major progress today as the White House gambles big on Iran. Today, what is left of the religious leadership of this country, the mullahs, the clerics, met at what they thought was a secure location in Tehran to choose a new Ayatollah, actually just to the south of Tehran. Probably the most important meeting that this flailing regime could hold in this moment, and Israel blew up the entire building. We're still waiting to learn just how impactful this was, how many were killed. As we understand that a decision was eventually made, though, by the survivors to make the dead Ayatollah's son the new supreme leader of the country, the new Ayatollah, which, of course, is a very scary job. Let's see how long he lasts. This all comes as the Qataris have joined in the bombing of Iran, and the Saudis appear poised to do the same. Through months of very intelligent diplomacy, Trump and his team have fully isolated Iran in its own neighborhood. It is amazing. It is the best opportunity possible to finally rid the world of this terrorist-spreading cancer. The White House is making a big gamble with this war, though. We know that. This is a big gamble, one that risks political decimation for Trump and Republicans if this thing goes sideways. Here was Rubio late this afternoon.
Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision. And the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons.
Pretty simple answer to understand, right? One that makes a lot of sense. Iran has spent more than 4 decades terrorizing the world, killing American troops that have been working to secure the Middle East from them so that we can have oil and energy and the things that we need in the United States. This dying regime tried to assassinate our president 2 times. Tack on the added upside of a major check on China, decimating their access to oil as they try to overtake the United States geopolitically. It is likely that all of this came together, creating an optimal environment to do something that should have been done years ago. At least in my head, that's how I envisioned that this decision was made. Destroying one of the most malignant tumors on the face of this planet. What we are seeing is more of Trump's long game. Much like tariffs, not politically popular, painful in the short term, but hugely consequential for the future of this country. The future. Trump is heavily invested in this country. He owns a lot of this country. He's heavily invested in our future. He has businesses, he has property, he has land, he has a lot of kids, he has a lot of grandkids. This is the kind of real work that politicians who only care about the next election never seem to do.
A big factor in this world and future factor is what we're doing right now with Iran. If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war, and they would have taken out many countries. Because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry. They're crazy. They're sick.
Statements like that, along with early successes, can keep the momentum going on this thing. But again, this mission is loaded with political risk. And if it gets messy and expanded, the midterms will likely be a bloodbath for Republicans. But it also has tremendous potential upside. Imagine what the world would look like if this plan goes the way they intend. Imagine Trump bringing peace to the Middle East and maybe even the world, with Venezuela under his thumb and with Cuba teetering. These are some of the boldest geopolitical moves you could imagine. Cutting China and Russia down to size, eliminating numerous hostile regimes around the world. This is the stuff of legends, if it works. But of course, the media and even many conservative voices are aligned against what this administration is trying to do. The larger media, of course, just wants Trump to suffer politically for any possible reason. They just want him to lose. But voices like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens claim that this is another forever war. This is a gift to the deep state and the military-industrial complex. Or they claim that this war is proof again that Israel controls everything, including our president.
Should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. This feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war.
This happened because Israel wanted it to happen. This is Israel's war.
If there's one thing that I think we can all agree on after 10 years of watching how the president operates, it's painfully clear that nobody controls this man to a fault. I mean, there's people that say all the time to me, people that vote for him, that say, God, I wish somebody could just get him under control for a minute, get his messaging on point, get him to stop ranting about things. Nobody controls this man. Nobody. It's very obvious, least of which a foreign country. The claims that we're hearing largely seize on this bite from Marco Rubio from yesterday. Take a listen.
The president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
So to criticize that as an indication of what they allege is a bit disingenuous. Rubio simply admits that once Israeli intelligence saw Iran's leadership arrive to meet with the Ayatollah, once they had them all in the same building and they took that quick strike, which was a surprise in that moment. It just happened really fast. The U.S. had to follow and eliminate as much of Iran's retaliation mechanisms as possible to protect our assets. No thinking person believes that Rubio indicated that Israel forced the United States into a war. We already had an entire armada poised right outside of Iran. All of this had been building for weeks. We had billions in weapons staged, waiting for a go-ahead. This was happening no matter what. To claim that Saturday morning we just got dragged into a war by surprise is a ridiculous claim. Others, like Matt Walsh, making a more fair point on this about the flip from so many Republicans in Congress and conservatives the moment that we launched this attack. Walsh saying conservatives are now running around saying Iran has been waging war on us for 47 years. Okay, then why didn't any of you call for an attack on Iran at any point until now? Why didn't you make a case for Trump ending the war, not starting it, until precisely the moment when Trump did it? You and I both know that you are latching onto a talking point you never used until 45 seconds ago. Now that is a decent little hit. Actually kind of a fair criticism. But on the other side of it, most people aren't sitting around thinking about Iran and whether it's an ideal time to end a regime that's been terrorizing the United States and the greater West for half a century. This is just not something a lot of people think about. But fair enough. Although social media today was quick to find some pretty rich hypocrisy from Walsh. Take a listen to this.
If it's actually true that Iran has tried to or is right now trying to kill our president, then absolutely we should invade the country and annihilate the whole regime. The United States should personally kill every person in the Iranian government if they're trying to assassinate our president. This is an act of war against us, and we would be totally justified in responding with overwhelming, violent force. If they did that, that's all we need to talk about. Go kill the bastards right now.
So 8 months ago, he's calling for exactly what's happening right now. And today, he's claiming that it's outrageous to support what's happening right now. By the way, so far, the DOJ has alleged Iran has tried to kill Donald Trump 2 times. Trump's UN ambassador, Michael Waltz, went head-to-head with Iran's representatives just hours after this war began. Take a look at this.
I have one word only. I advise to the representative of the United States to be polite. It will be better for yourself and the country you represented. Thank you.
The representative of the United States has asked for the floor to make a further statement.
Frankly, I'm not going to dignify this with another response, especially as this representative sits here in this body representing a regime that has killed tens of thousands of its own people and imprisoned many more simply for wanting freedom from your tyranny.
Quite a moment there from Saturday, just hours into this war, and the Ambassador Waltz joins us now. Sir, good to see you again. Many of the top conservative voices, and I know you see this, are angry over this attack. And of course, it's fun to be contrarian, and it gets a lot of attention for them on social media and such. I view it, though, as it's sort of undeniable that this was probably an optimal moment to end a regime that has very dark intentions before it's too late. This is an ideology, as we know, that inspires suicide bombings. These are not people that can be heavily armed, and they continue to push to do that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting and a lot of the hand-wringing out there because President Trump has been absolutely consistent in all three of his campaigns. He was crystal clear. This genocidal, ideological regime run by Islamic religious clerics cannot and will not ever have a nuclear weapon. He was consistent in his first campaign, his second campaign, his third campaign. A key part of his first term was withdrawing from Obama's horrible Iran deal. The second thing he signed in coming into office this time was restoring maximum pressure. And you know what? You know what the American people voted for from my perspective, 77 million of them for President Trump, was a president that doesn't accept bad deals on behalf of the American people, and a president that actually stands for his red lines and stands by his word. President Trump has done all of those things. It's been consistent with everything he has said since he entered into politics. And I'll say, Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. Hundreds of Marines in the Beirut bombing, hundreds of American soldiers in Iraq, attack after attack around the world. How many billions have we spent dealing with this problem over multiple administrations for decades? Yep. And what I love about President Trump is rather than admire the problem and hand-wring about it and issue strongly worded letters and statements, he's finishing the problem, he's solving the problem, and he'll do so in a way that's bold and decisive.
And that's exactly where I want to go. If this regime is fully dismantled, if this gets done, and some kind of stable, Western-friendly government rises up from whatever's left, maybe with the help of the Kurds, perhaps, to secure that transition. What could the world look like if the Middle East is largely with the Americans and is pro-Western, Iran's regime is decimated? Imagine the Middle East in that moment. Describe what that could be like for the rest of the world.
Well, let me start with what you won't have. You won't have the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism attacking us, attacking Israel, attacking our Gulf allies in the Middle East, trying to assassinate President Trump. I'll remind everyone on both sides of the aisle that we're only 18 months away from those assassination attempts. You won't have them supporting the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, attacking global shipping, attacking global energy supplies. And what we will be able to do is shift some of those assets to deal with the greatest threat that this country has ever faced in the Chinese Communist Party. So, for everyone who says we should be focused over there, I agree. And what President Trump's action is going to do is solve the problem once and for all. We cannot have this Iranian regime with a nuke. We cannot have it with thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that will overwhelm air defenses. You can't have sleeper cells trying to assassinate him, his cabinet, and others on American soil. Enough is enough. Yeah. And when it became clear they weren't negotiating in good faith, he didn't just accept a bad deal for the sake of it. He said enough is enough and is taking decisive action. So the world will be a far more peaceful place You have a president that puts diplomacy first, and
Yeah.
you have a president that is going to do what's necessary to achieve stability and peace for the American people.
And perhaps a world that doesn't require so many American military bases throughout the Middle East and so much of a footprint for us. I mean, think
As
of
a
all the
former
potential
veteran
upside.
that got sucked into those endless wars, heck yeah, and we should be supporting him 100%.
Ambassador Waltz, good to see you. Thanks so much. All right, Rick Grenell is Trump's presidential envoy for special missions. And Rick, good to see you again. Want to start here. It's day 4. You're not a big war guy. You're a diplomacy guy. As we move into this 4th day, you see Iran lashing out at everyone and kind of on an island by themselves. What are your thoughts at this point?
Well, first of all, my first thought is thank God we have President Trump, because this is somebody who is experienced, who's been through the lies of Iran. Remember, we really tried diplomacy. We had a great team trying diplomacy as much as possible. But we also understand the lies that this regime put forward. Remember, just to summarize quickly, they lied about the number of centrifuges, and John Kerry believed them. They lied about the amount of heavy water they were using. We caught them. John Kerry believed them. They lied about the enrichment levels. They lied about cooperation at Fordo and Natanz and a whole bunch of other sites. So this is a regime that constantly relies on others believing them, and President Trump wasn't having it. They have been lying and supplying all sorts of different proxies with terror and money to spread more terror, and I think this is going to be a great decision. Let me also say, too, Rob, President Trump is very clear this is not going to be a long war. He's going to decimate the ability for this terror regime to spread terror. And then he's going to make sure that America is safe, and it'll be over. It will not be a long war.
What do you say to, I mean, there's a lot of people that supported the president that are big names that are now angry for this, for launching this war, this invasion of Iran. What do you say to those voices that have a lot of ears listening to them in the conservative party in this country?
Look, I think my first reaction is I've been involved in politics for so long that the snapshot of what people think today won't be the same as what they think tomorrow. This is a president who cares about national security, the security of Americans. And all of these decisions, I think you will find that they were the right decisions. All of the critics will see that the regime being gone is a positive thing. And again, going back to the point, President Trump is not going to do long, protracted war. This is not who he is, and he's learned the lessons of Iraq.
2 more quick ones for you. Trump slamming Spain today, run by socialists, blocking usage of their military bases for this attack. Take a listen to this.
European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases. They were unfriendly. And so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. We're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, look, he said that while he was sitting next to Chancellor Merz, the chancellor, relatively new chancellor of Germany. And the chancellor of Germany had a completely different tone than the previous chancellor of Germany. So Germany, the largest economy in Europe, is 100% with President Trump. I think that is the big story. Now, Spain not being a very good member of NATO, I think should get criticized by the rest of NATO, because if there's anything that undermines NATO, it's when a NATO country says, we're not going to participate when another member is being attacked. And that's exactly what Spain did. So I hope that the other members of NATO will call it out. That's undermining NATO.
Want to read the tweet that you put out today that I thought was interesting. One thing is clear, President Trump is absolutely right that we need Greenland. NATO members aren't all with us on Iran. We need Greenland for U.S. national security purposes as soon as possible. Elaborate on that a little more.
I mean, look, we've been told that Greenland wasn't needed because we had this umbrella, so to speak, from NATO. But I think Spain's reaction to what's going on only shows that President Trump was absolutely right to be at the forefront of protecting America's national security by having Greenland be in some sort of partnership with the United States so that we can put bases there, so that we can make sure that Russia and China are not moving into our territory.
Rick Grenell, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, next up, let's get into the economic side of this war, and that would be oil right now. What to expect as the price does rise? Can the U.S. secure the Strait of Hormuz and stop some of that bleeding? Plus, later in news from the left, the Supreme Court trashes California schools looking to hijack kids from their own parents.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Qunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Qunol, the brand I trust.
Iran has hit cities across Israel with a massive attack. There are rockets and drones that are hitting our schools, our homes, our synagogues. I'm Yael Eckstein of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and we urgently need your response now to help bring emergency food, shelter, and life-saving supplies.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has emergency teams across the front lines of Israel's war for survival. Call now to give your gift of $45 and help provide food, shelter, and life-saving supplies. It's your prayers and gifts that give hope and comfort to Israel and the Jewish people.
The Fellowship is a Bible-believing ministry, and we desperately need tens of thousands of faithful believers to answer this call for help now.
Call, scan, or go online now to stand with Israel.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back.
Break away to what's possible with Tremfya.
The only IL-23 blocker for Crohn's and UC to offer self-administration from the start.
With symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, 1 year, and even 2 years.
Some had visible healing of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya.
Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slomag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slomag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slomag.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot starting at only $950. Then we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
If we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
President there today acknowledging oil prices are rising during this brief war, but reminding us to imagine how far they could fall if we stabilize the Middle East. Oil above $74 a barrel at market close today. Average cost for a gallon of gas rose 11 cents overnight. The Strait of Hormuz, the big concern. Iran controls a lot of it. 20% of the world's oil moves through it as it leaves the Persian Gulf. Iran now says the strait is closed. Multiple tankers have been struck by Iranian drones. Trump looking for government-backed insurance to keep these tankers moving through a dangerous strait so we can keep oil coming out. Adding, if necessary, the U.S. Navy will begin to escort these tankers. Then there's Saudi Arabia, the largest oil refinery, Aramco, for the Saudis, halting one of their operations after a drone strike. The same happening to the Qataris mining LNG. So this is what happens. War in the Middle East is not good for oil. Oil facilities also struck in UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Iraq, and Israel. Steve Yates is a senior research fellow on China and national security policy at the Heritage Foundation. Joins us now. Steve, I imagine the White House and the War Department are working very hard right now to find a way to secure the Strait of Hormuz, because the last thing they want is $4 or $5 oil or gas in this country.
Oh, for sure. And I think others will know the markets better than I, but I think my recollection is they tend to spike in the immediate aftermath of uncertainty. And as it becomes clear that this is an enduring hit and hold, and Iran at some point begins to wind down its capabilities to strike out, then I think things will stabilize. Of course, there's a risk that there will be ongoing hits in the broader region, but these are not the hits that take these facilities offline for long periods of time. So it's unfortunate. Well, the president's move on insurance is huge. Our Navy's capability is unmatched by anyone by far, and I'm sure that we are going to be having sea superiority to match that air superiority the president's already talked about.
It's funny, though, because we always talk about how we're energy independent, you know, and we've drilled, baby, drill and all this stuff, yet we're still so reliant on the rest of the world and the energy prices of the rest of the world. It seems like he's trying to get a stranglehold on OPEC a little bit with the moves against Venezuela and also with Iran, but we're still very dependent on all that.
Well, it's global markets. We sell to global markets. We buy it from global markets. You're right, though, that the president is doing things that others might have talked about but never did, and that is to try to have some kind of influence, dominant influence, to control this factor. It has an impact on Russia and its continuing war machine. It has an impact on China and whether it thinks it's sustainable in a time of crisis or contingency. So what the president's doing is making sure that a huge supply is influenced by the United States and maybe benefits the people that are bringing it to market.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to get to one final thing here. 90% of Iran's 600 million annual barrels of crude oil goes straight to China. And China used to get half of Venezuela's as well. The Free Press with this today. The Iran strike is all about China. I'm not there to think that it's all about China, but there must have come into the equation, right?
It comes into the equation. I'm a longtime China expert. I speak Mandarin Chinese. My first job in government was studying the Chinese economy. This is not all about China, but the consequences of these actions definitely reverberate, and they improve our options to contain the malign influences of the Chinese Communist Party. President Trump is putting us in a far safer and stronger position to negotiate a different path to peace and prosperity with that country. Will they take it? We're learning with Iran. Maybe they take the deal, maybe they don't. But he's putting us in a far better set of options than any president before, and these markets have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, talk about leaving the country in a better place than you got it. I mean, I talked about it in the A block a lot. This is the hard work that politicians rarely do. This is for the betterment of the future, and it has a political cost. In the short term, politicians in this country never seem to think this way. They're too selfish. Steve Yates, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
The Pentagon identifying 4 of the 6 American service members who have been killed during Operation Epic Fury. This just coming down in the last hour or so. All 6 were killed in one Iranian drone strike that happened in the small nation of Kuwait. Going to read the names of the 4 that have been identified. Captain Cody Cork, 35 years old, from Winter Haven, Florida. Sergeant First Class Noah Teichens, 42 years old, Bellevue, Nebraska. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, 39 years old, White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And Specialist Declan Cody, a 20-year-old from West Des Moines, Iowa. Our absolute respect and appreciation for your service to this country, and our hearts to your families tonight. Coming up, a quick break from Iran to take you to the Texas primaries. Up next, our friend Ken Paxton looking to take John Cornyn out.
Our family started Cane Brew with a dream and a lot of hard work. Now we're thriving, growing, and hiring. Artificial intelligence has made all the difference for our business. We're a case study for how AI is strengthening American manufacturing. Washington needs to help AI flourish. It's vital to our economic security. We cannot let China dominate these technologies. America must innovate and win. Let's protect our competitive edge.
Between drained investment accounts, lost wages, and hiring lawyers, identity theft can cost you more than you might think. Only LifeLock offers the $1 Million Protection Package with reimbursement up to $3 million. LifeLock. Join today.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Big news! Super Beta Prostate is better than ever with a new advanced formula, enhanced with saw palmetto.
In time, you'll notice less urges to urinate, improved bladder emptying, and you won't be getting up at night for so many bathroom trips.
Super Beta Prostate is the #1 selling brand for men's prostate and urinary health, and the #1 recommended by urologists. And now the new advanced formula is better than ever with saw palmetto.
Super Beta Prostate works.
Find it at these retailers.
Life with ear ringing sounded like a constant train whistle I couldn't escape. Then I started taking lipoflavonoid. With 60 years of clinical experience, it's the #1 doctor-recommended brand for ear ringing. And now I'm finally free. Take back control with lipoflavonoid.
My husband is Miguel Cervantes, who was a firefighter with the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. That's what he absolutely loved. My husband's cancer is directly related to his service as a firefighter. My immediate thought after he was gone was, how am I going to do this? Tunnel to Towers said that it would be their honor to help me out by covering my mortgage. To say that it's been a weight lifted off my shoulder would be an understatement.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Welcome back. All eyes on Texas tonight politically as polls close at the top of the hour. The Senate race for both parties drawing a ton of attention, becoming the most expensive in history. Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico going head-to-head for the Democrat nomination in this race. It's primary night. Crockett endorsed by Kamala, spending $4.6 million on her campaign. Tallarico spending $22 million, most of that coming from out of state. They want Tallarico. They think he's got the better chance. On the Republican side, Cornyn defending his seat against Ken Paxton and Wesley Hunt. Republican primary dumping $95 million into the race. $69 million of that going to Cornyn's campaign. Matt Schlapp is the CPAC chairman. Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson Show. They join us now. Good to see you both. Before we get to the beginning here, guys, we're going to get some breaking news here just in this moment. Authorities in Dallas have detained a suspect in front of the Ken Paxton headquarters. We're not sure if there's a gun. We understand that they searched his car. They pulled at least ammunition out and a ski mask as well. So we just want to get that out there to people to know that. Of course, this kind of aligns with the very violent left, and somebody like Ken Paxton very much enrages the violent left in this country. Ben, we're going to start with you. Cornyn claiming that if Paxton is the nominee, that there's going to be a massacre in Texas. We'll have the first Democrat elected since 1994. What's your response to that from John Cornyn?
Says the guy that's got to spend how many tens of millions to barely hang on in a primary to hope for a runoff. This is what I call political BS 101, right? You say, don't vote for the other guy that you like because somehow he's going to lose. Look, I'm going to make predictions, and I love election night in America. Number one, it's going to be a runoff between Ken Paxton, John Cornyn, Wesley Hunt. Nice guy is going to come in third place. All right. So they're going to have this runoff. you look at the money that's come in for Cornyn. It's not coming in from the voters in Texas. He's had to raid the coffers of the Republican Senatorial Committee. The list goes on and on, all the special interest groups from outside Texas to try to save his seat. So this is a bad hand that he has been dealt. The people in Texas are not excited about him. The proof of the money he's having to spend in the primary. And also look at something else. Ken Paxton's spending is actually low. He has not had to go out and spend every single dime he had to make it into this runoff. And so there's people that like him. They want to support him. They are voting for him without having tens of millions of dollars thrown in their face. And they've gone after Paxton hard. They have hit him with nasty ads, and he's still going to be in a runoff, and it's going to be a very interesting one too.
Yeah, Matt, I want to go to the Democrat side. You've got Tallarico versus the Crockett. What do you think?
Please,
the polls are all over the place on this one. Who's going to take this?
I don't know. I mean, the Democratic Party everywhere, even in red states, is now a Marxist socialist party. So the person that plays up to the left, like Jasmine Crockett, has the upper hand. Now, I would say this Tallarico young man is doing a great job being the spam burger of Texas. He's trying to sound Southern, moderate, careful. And, spam burger, when she got into the governorship of Virginia, within 15 minutes, our lives were all changed immediately. Taxes are up, no regulations on abortion. She's going to go house to house to take your over capacity clips. It is like, it's unrelenting. And I'll just say this race is about an indictment on the way Republicans have run the Senate for too long. It is about lethargy. It is inert. They won't do anything unless it's a short walk to the couch. And Ken Paxton, some people don't like him. He is going to set that place ablaze with Mike Lee and other people and make them work hard, make them earn their money. And we need more people like Ken Paxton in the Senate.
Yeah, the sad reality is, though, Ben, is I'm imagining that if it does go to this runoff between Paxton and Cornyn, I'm wondering whether or not Trump will be able to endorse Paxton, or will the Senate leaders say you got to get behind Cornyn, and it'll just be so sad.
Yeah, it would be really sad. But I also think you're going to look at election night, and if you're the White House and you see the amount of money that Cornyn had to spend to even just get to maybe 30%. And then you look at Ken Paxton and how little money he is going to spend to get in the runoff. I hope the president and his team says, maybe we just stay out of this one, right? And Ken, if you win this thing, great. If Cornyn, you win this thing, great, we'll work with you. But I don't see an upside for Trump to get in this thing unless, look, we all know that Trump likes Ken Paxton. They've worked well together. They've worked on a lot of lawfare stuff together and fighting the Democrats. They've worked on a bunch of those types of issues. But it's very clear he's who he should endorse. I hope he does it.
Matt, real quick, go ahead.
John Cornyn cannot win this race against Ken Paxton. He just can't. It doesn't matter how much money he has. There's the decision that's been made amongst Republicans. And even, look, Donald Trump is in a tough position because these majorities are thin and he needs John Cornyn's vote. But everyone knows that they do not want business as usual. They want the McConnell era to come to an end. And Ken Paxton represents that. He personifies that.
Very few Republicans, by the way, in Texas, where I am right now, very few endorsed John Cornyn, the incumbent. That is something the White House should look at as well.
There you go. The old guard fading out. Ben Ferguson, Matt Schlapp, good to see you guys. Thanks.
See ya.
Terrifying warning of Iranian sleeper cells in this country as Democrats continue to work to defund Homeland Security. Got that next with Congressman Brandon Gill.
We know that we have many dangerous individuals that came in unvetted.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Not again. Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming! Thanks, Rubio.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold. When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
This little light of mine in the dark found a hopeful sign.
For those with depression not getting enough relief from their antidepressant, adding Caplyta can help you let in the light, providing greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. And unlike some medications, Caplyta is also proven to deliver significant symptom relief from both bipolar 1 and 2 depression.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
He's breathing. Okay, go again.
Children account for 75% of choking deaths.
That's why I recommend everyone have a life vac in your home, car, or business.
The life vac is simple to use. Just place, push, and pull.
Its suction removes an obstruction out of the airway quickly, saving a life.
If you use your life vac for an emergency, we'll replace it for free. Order now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
Your Florida life is calling, and we have the answer. Valencia in Florida by GL Homes. Premium 55-plus living in 5 prime Florida locations. Gorgeous new homes from the mid-300s to $2.5 million. World-class resort-style living 24/7. Huge clubhouses, on-site dining, pickleball, and more. Effortless, low-maintenance living. Valencia, your Florida life is calling. Experience more at valenciaflorida.com.
Terrifying video there. Death toll in Austin has risen to 3 now after a 30-year-old shooting victim was taken off life support last night. 2 college students also killed in this attack. Clearly an act of terrorism. 53-year-old Senegali national with a Property of Allah sweatshirt, an Iranian flag undershirt, and a Quran in his car opens fire at this bar. The gunman reportedly writing online last April, "The Islamic Revolution is eternal." Right now, Democrats keeping the government partially shut down in an attempt to defund the Department of Homeland Security in this moment, an agency that's on high alert for sleeper cell terrorists, many of whom, of course, illegally came here under Joe Biden. Here was Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, earlier on Capitol Hill.
Over the last administration, when millions of people streamed across our border, we don't necessarily know who all came into our country. We know that we have many dangerous individuals that came in unvetted, and we are working every single day to find them and to make sure that we're preventing the next attack and preventing the next crime they may perpetuate against the American people.
Texas Congressman Brandon Gill joins us now. Good to have you, sir. They're trying to defund DHS while we're looking out for sleeper cells in the middle of a war with radical Islam.
You know, it's crazy. You never want your Department of Homeland Security to be defunded, but certainly not whenever we're in a conflict with Iran, and that whenever there are realistic and very real concerns about sleeper cells of foreign agents right here in the United States. You know, particularly after 4 years of open borders, whenever millions of people from all over the globe came into our country, settled down in our communities, who could be associated with hostile foreign governments, hostile regimes. This is a serious national security threat, and the reality is that Democrats would rather play politics. They prefer open borders over keeping our nation secure, and that's why DHS isn't funded right now. We've got to get this done because this is a real issue for the security and the safety of the American people.
Right. You know, on the same kind of story here, there are multiple Islamic mosques in this country that are honoring the death of the Ayatollah in Iran. They're calling him a martyr, eulogizing him as their leader. One is located in Manassas, Virginia. Another is in Dearborn, Michigan. Not a surprise. Here is how it sounds during Dearborn's Shiite memorial for the Ayatollah of Iran.
We're gathered here today to commemorate the martyrdom of the great leader of our time, Sayyid Ali al-Hussein al-Khamenei.
And just like Palestine, we live on stolen land. When the devil-worshipping Freemasons reach these shores, the Statue of Liberty is actually Lucifer.
What kind of suicidal country are we in that we allow people like that to live right next door to us? People that mourn the death of the Ayatollah as a hero. These people should be immediately deported from this country.
You're 100% correct. You know, mass migration is absolutely suicidal, particularly whenever it's coming from parts of the world who view America and view our role in the world completely opposite to the way we do. The reality is that mass migration, particularly from the Islamic world, is idiotic and suicidal, and we're seeing the consequences of that right now. You know, the Ayatollah was one of the most violent and ruthless dictators in the world. This is the leading state sponsor of terrorism. And the idea that you would have anybody in America, much less entire mosques, celebrating his death is absolutely despicable. Yeah. This is a real problem we've got to fix, and we're cleaning it up because of what the Democrats did to us.
Yeah, I mean, this is an Ayatollah, a leader of a country that murdered tens of thousands of protesters. If they see a woman with her, with her hair out in the streets, they beat her, and if she does it again, they shoot her in the head. Yeah. This is a hero for people that live in this country, and they think that they should be allowed to stay in this country. It's mortifying, and the fact that we allow it, I cannot process that. Congressman, we appreciate you coming on. Coming up here, Jim Acosta terrified that the media might lose its radical left-wing bias.
It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. All you have to do is go inside his twisted mind.
Paperwork shouldn't run your life. GovPlus puts it on autopilot. Sent the wrong passport form and got denied? We check for errors and catch mistakes before you hit send. Got hit with a tax penalty? That wouldn't happen with GovPlus. It pre-fills and files on time, even for multiple jobs. Missed your TSA pre-check renewal? With GovPlus, track deadlines and send alerts. Lost your kid's birth certificate? Get it with GovPlus and store it in your secure online vault. One platform, all your paperwork handled.
1 second, Grandma. This guy's gonna buy my car.
Okay. You need Carvana. Entering plate number. No accidents, right?
No.
Generating offer. Carvana can pick it up tomorrow.
That's an amazing offer.
Sell your car the easy way with Carvana.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
This is Fubo. It's a better way to watch ESPN and other top sports networks. Plus, get coverage of your local teams all year long. Start watching at FuboTV.com.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Hungry Root is here, and I needed it because my fridge is super empty.
It's so easy to just whip together a quick, healthy meal.
Head to hungryroot.com for healthy groceries and simple recipes. Plus, get free veggies for life.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. In a 6-3 ruling, Supreme Court blocking a radical law that allowed schools in California to not tell parents if their child identifies as transgender. The order blocking a state law signed by Gavin Newsom made California the first state to bar school districts from requiring staff to alert parents of their child's gender identification. It also blocks a rule requiring teachers to use a student's preferred pronoun as well. Majority writing, the parents who assert a free exercise claim have sincere religious beliefs about sex and gender. They feel a religious obligation to raise their children in accordance with those beliefs. California's policies violate those beliefs and impose the kind of burden on religious exercise that Yoder found unacceptable. Imagine dissenting to something like this, by the way, like the 3 liberal justices did. Liberals in this country truly do believe that our children are the property of the state and not of the parents. That's what they believe. Next up, enter the deranged and very small mind of Eric Swalwell, the smelly frat boy who's running for governor of California.
I see protecting the homeland as also protecting the vulnerable immigrants who are running through the fields and factories where they work, or the woman who's been dragged by her hair and thrown into an unmarked van, or the allies in Minnesota, a nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good who were publicly executed.
Idiots like this, they survive off of taking singular incidents and trying to make them into just the total story. By the way, they dump 20 million people in our country, and you arrest one person, you get a little rough with them, and they say, we need to end ICE, we need to stop deporting, we need to end everything. Just so disappointing to see the level of intelligence on the left. Next up, Jim Acosta, speaking of which, who CNN told us was an unbiased White House reporter for years, only to reveal that he's one of the most left-wing partisan psychos in the country after he was fired. Acosta freaking out over the Ellisons buying Warner's, which includes CNN, less than a year after buying Paramount, which is also CBS.
Do we want Scott Jennings anchoring the CBS Evening News or anchoring AC 360 and talking about what a great president Donald Trump is? It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. All you have to do is go inside his twisted mind. He can't even stay awake at his own events. And this is the guy who's gonna cow these giant media properties into combining into one another and becoming propaganda arms of his administration.
He can't even stay awake at his own events. Again, they told us this man was a reporter. How many years did CNN tell us that? Trump does more in a week than Acosta's done in his whole life. And by the way, turn on CBS. Ellisons have owned it for a long time now, months and months and months. Does it feel like pro-Trump propaganda, or does 60 Minutes feel like pretty much the same show, just a little bit less biased against conservative politics than it was? You tell me. Finally, a stunning twist that we here are very excited about because we're going to have a table for this. President Trump announcing he's going to be attending this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner on April 25. After snubbing and skipping all the prior dinners during his presidency, I think he skipped 5 at this point, Trump writing on Truth Social in honor of our nation's 250th birthday and the fact that these correspondents, in quotation marks, now admit that I am truly one of the greatest presidents in our history, the GOAT, according to many. It will be my honor to accept their invitation and work to make it the greatest, hottest, and most spectacular dinner of any kind ever. Adding, because the press was extraordinarily bad to me, fake news all right from the beginning of my term, I boycotted the event and never went as an honoree. However, I look forward to being with everyone this year. Hopefully it will be something very special. I can tell you that if he's there, it is going to be a spectacle. And the good news is it's on TV. You're going to want to watch that on April 25th. Israel's Mossad is scary good. Next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Iran has hit cities across Israel with a massive attack. There are rockets and drones that are hitting our schools, our homes, our synagogues. I'm Yael Eckstein of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and we urgently need your response now to help bring emergency food, shelter, and life-saving supplies.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has emergency teams across the front lines of Israel's war for survival. Call now to give your gift of $45 and help provide food, shelter, and life-saving supplies. It's your prayers and gifts that give hope and comfort to Israel and the Jewish people.
The Fellowship is a Bible-believing ministry, and we desperately need tens of thousands of faithful believers to answer this call for help now.
Call, scan, or go online now to stand with Israel.
New Cologuard Plus?
Yep.
Colon cancer screening delivered to your door?
Check.
No prep? Check. Non-invasive?
Checkity check, check.
And it detects 95% of colon cancer, similar to colonoscopy.
Checkity check.
The Cologuard Plus test is for people 45 plus at average risk. False positive and negative results may occur, not for those at high risk. Introducing Cologuard Plus. It's the box that checks all the boxes for screening. Ask your provider or request Cologuard Plus online.
Work shouldn't leave you feeling stiff or sore. You deserve a happier, healthier workday. That starts with a better workspace. One where you can stand a little, move a little, and feel a lot better. Barry has everything you need for head-to-toe comfort, with standing desks, ergonomic seating, and accessories, so you can work well and live well. And right now, you can save 20% site-wide at Very.com.
Look, if you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet. I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore. I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
And finally tonight, a new report from the Financial Times showing just how scary good Israel's version of the CIA is. Take a look at how Mossad got the Ayatollah over the weekend. Nearly all the traffic cameras in Tehran had been hacked for years, their images encrypted, transmitted to servers in Tel Aviv and southern Israel, allowing Israel to learn information on the Ayatollah's security guards, like their hours of duty, who they were protecting, information that helped Israel and the CIA determine what time the Ayatollah would be in his offices the day of the strike, and who he would be with, which was very important. They took out like 40 at the same time. Israel was also able to disrupt mobile phone towers, making it seem as if the phones were busy when called. That stopped the Ayatollah's protection detail from receiving any possible warnings. It's not the first time we've seen this absurd level of intelligence. Back in 2024, when old school pagers, beepers that Hezbollah terrorists used to communicate, remember when they all exploded at the same time all across Lebanon, killing 12 Hezbollah terrorists, injuring 3,000? People's belts were just exploding all over the place. This is how they do it. And they set this up for years and years. They created a pager company and sold them to the terrorists. And then, boom, they all go at the same time. It is wild. And with that, I'm going to be extra nice to my Jewish friends. And Finnerty is up
Not
next,
Jewish,
right?
but I will be
I
as
gotta
well.
be nice to you, right?
And we'd like to welcome in Robert Finnerty, who is Jewish. No, but I'll tell you what. Mossad is like the CIA, but all their Mission Impossible James Bond stuff we actually get to hear about, whereas with the CIA, it's not the same.
You never get to learn these details, but man, that one impressed the hell out of me.
All right, from one Irishman to another. Mr. Schmitt, thank you. Finnerty starts now.